He had this happy look on his face. So I told him to tell me more, and he said, John, the lack of knowledge will keep you poor. Then he handed me a brochure. It was from Knowledge Tree Mortgage. Now I understood. And after one phone call, I understood even more. Knowledge Tree Mortgage specializes in first-time homebuyers. Folks like me who get the runaround from banks, and he got us pre-qualified. Knowledge Tree Mortgage got us our mortgage. And tomorrow, my wife and I are going to become first-time homebuyers. Here's the number, 859-9599. 859-9599. Money doesn't grow on trees. Knowledge does. Knowledge Tree Mortgage, 859-9599. 859-9599.
Here we go! From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex, this is the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It's a beautiful Friday. Yes, it's a little warm, but you know what? That's what you get in the last week of June, less than a week away from the 4th of July. Interesting. Got a good show planned for you today. My buddy Jeff Him, play-by-play voice of the Sounds, will join us at 4:20. And then Mark McGee to talk Nashville Predator hockey at 5 o'clock. We'll open the phones around 5:20-ish. Give or take a minute or two, and see what's on your minds as we get into a weekend where I am saying, thank God, it's the weekend. Hello, Billy Jones.
Hello, George. How are you?
Good. So you've been in the Kroger hot seat now for basically a week.
Yeah.
Does this diminish how difficult Billy Derrick's job is? The fact that you've handled this virtually flawlessly.
I mean, I don't think it should. I don't think anyone can replicate the brilliance, the exuberance, the youthful energy, the natural talent mixed around
Cut
with.
the crap. You're talking to your broadcast daddy here. How hard is this?
It's, it is what it is. But when you learn from the best, it makes the transition all smooth.
Wow.
We need Kelly here. I need some backup if I'm gonna shoot from the hip.
Kelly was on you yesterday. He
should have
baptized you into the show.
Yeah, I was telling you yesterday. I felt like I was getting coddled a little bit.
Right.
This felt like getting thrown into the deep end and being told, figure it out.
And then he jumped all over you. What was it? What was your?
I forgot
your sin of the day.
Well,
that got him going.
I decided not to proofread the bets of the day, and there was an E.
Oh, that's right. The word Cleveland, which turned out Cleveland.
Yeah, was misspelled. And if there was one city to mess up in front of Kelly, that was
oh my God,
not the one.
He probably was seeing red. I had not thought about that part either.
Yeah.
He gets very sensitive. As Xander Sechrist learned, he gets very sensitive about his Indians.
Yeah. Eerily calm around here without, Kelly's presence in the in our studio space. Yeah.
Yeah, he takes Fridays off. It's an excused absence.
Right, naturally. But, we're obviously excited to have Billy back, but glad he's enjoyed his vacation, I hope, down in Florida. Picked a good week to do it, too, as our comments have so kindly reminded him. They were ready to gloat about it on Tuesday. They were wondering where Billy was, ready to rub that national championship in his face, but,
Billy
needed
we've
his time.
got to arrange some sort of a meeting between Billy and Tony Vitello.
You think?
Yeah.
There's some bad blood there. I mean,
and it's probably bugged him that we've had Xander Sechrist on twice, and that Xander has proven to be a terrific interview.
Yeah, I was about to say, even if you don't like that Tennessee team, how could you not like Xander? I mean,
he's a piece of work.
Yeah. He's, nice guy.
Yeah.
clearly down to earth and obviously a great player too.
Should we go ahead and once again reveal the big scoop that we let out there yesterday?
Yes.
Shameless as it may be, here goes. In other words, hit it. No, not that.
Not that.
Good Lord. We are very excited to announce that the George Plaster Show will broadcast live from SEC Football Media Days, Monday, July the 15th through Thursday, July the 18th, live from Dallas, Texas. We're looking for sponsors. If you'd like to be a part of this, we've set up very attractive and reasonable advertising packages. Simply contact me, plastergeorge@gmail.com, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Yeah, we're going to SEC Football Media Days. In my mind, these days, this is sort of the unofficial kickoff to football season that week. The Titans have a preseason game like 3 weeks later, and then we're off and running.
It's an exciting time, especially this year. I mean, I'm sure Dallas is going to be a buzz with people from OU in Texas. But, you know, this is a year full of a lot of storylines. Obviously, the conference realignment's a big one. But this 12-team playoff has completely reshaped the way that coaches look at their seasons, the way coaches look at their schedules. And, of course, you've got the NIL stuff that's made these rosters turn over a lot more than they have in past years. Like, you look at that Ole Miss roster, that whole defense pretty much is guys that have transferred in. So I'm excited to hear at Media Days, you know, who these coaches really feel good about, you know, what they think as far as this playoff, because you don't need to go 11-1 anymore to compete in the postseason.
No, there will be a 9-3 SEC team get in. And I predict there will also be a 9-3 out of the SEC within a couple of years that takes out an 11-1 Mountain West type.
Right.
That 11-1 in a lower conference may not be good enough. If that 3-loss SEC has a bunch of meat on the bone, they're going to get in.
Especially because it feels like this gap just continues to grow between the power conferences and the, you know, group of 5 or, you know, however many leagues it is now. But, I mean, you think about like a Georgia schedule. I mean, they're going to Texas, they're going to Ole Miss, they're going to Alabama this year. I mean, you lose those 3 games and they're all close. I mean, you're still 9-3. Here, we'll put up the schedule actually while we got it. This is
Georgia.
They go to Alabama, they go to Ole Miss, and they go to Texas.
And let me say this. That first game, I'm going to it.
Are you at Mercedes-Benz?
You're darn tootin' I am.
That's going to be a fun one.
You think about those schools are separated by about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And the sad thing is when the SEC goes to 9 conference games, I don't think Georgia and Clemson will ever play again, and that's sad.
Right, because, you know, obviously the geographical proximity, obviously the recruiting, and this has been a rivalry that's been played a decent amount over the last, you know, 10, 15 years, even if not annually. They played it a lot. Most recently in 21, they played in Charlotte. I don't know if you remember that game.
Oh, I remember it well.
10-3.
It was a low-scoring deal that ultimately, I guess, led to Georgia winning the national title.
Yes, it was. And, you know, Clemson was in there at the end of the year. I think they finished 9-3, but it was, you know, if they had that win, who knows? But now, do you think the appetite for non-conference games is kind of decreased a little bit with the fact that your in-conference schedule can vary so greatly?
Well, first of all, I don't think the coaches want a 9th conference game.
Yeah.
This is the network saying, we don't want to show you playing UL Monroe.
Right.
They want top-flight stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they may get their wish if 3 losses can get an SEC team in the playoff. But, look, that's going to be a big topic of conversation down in Big D at SEC Football Media Days. So, do you have an update of some substance?
I do.
Do you really? See, I think you need to teach Billy how to do that.
Well, I appreciate that. Our update is brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online, mortgageladyyusa.com, or you can give her a call, 615-969-4350. UC Soros, it has been reported, has agreed to an 8-year extension. This is Chris Johnston, who reported this, an NHL reporter, worth an average of $7.74 million a year, which would make him the 6th highest paid goaltender in the NHL.
When Guy joins us today at 5 o'clock, that will be the first topic of conversation is, what does this really mean? Because I tend to believe that this is not the way the Predators wanted to go. I think they wanted the Russian kid, whether it's Askarov or Askarov. I think they wanted him to take the bull by the horns, and I don't think they think he has.
Yeah, and just the timing worked out that, listen, if you didn't sign UC to a big deal, he was going to go get it somewhere else because
Absolutely.
There's any number of teams that could have paid that.
Now the question is, how do you pivot from here? Because there was this thought that UC was the one who could bring you the haul. And now that appears to be out the window. So what are the steps that Barry has to take now to get them past this barely gets in kind of deal?
And
because that's what he wants, and I know it's what he wants.
Right, and with the core you have, I think it's there that you can elevate to an elite team. I mean, we saw, obviously, what they were able to do with the last 2 months of that season. I mean, there's periods where they can play with anybody. The question is just, can you get enough consistent scoring? And you got to do that through either free agency or the draft.
I think the next week of Nashville Predator hockey is going to really dictate where this franchise is going in the next 2-3 years. I know this. I've got total confidence in Barry Trotz. When Barry Trotz got rid of Matt Duchene, who was a little problem child in that locker room, that's when I knew Barry Trotz absolutely had the pulse of that locker room and knew what was going on, and good for him.
Yeah, and whether or not it was true, that moniker of Nashville is kind of a retirement home started to set in a little bit, especially with the way Duchene had played. And he basically, went out and said that's not how it's going to be. And we saw two veterans, Nyquist and O'Reilly, who were in the tail ends of their career, come in last year and play their butts off for 82 games plus the playoffs. So, I think it sent a message from top down, and I think it's always great when you have your coach and your general manager aligned, which it very much seems like Burnett and Trotz are. And we'll see what the Predators decide to do tonight. First round of the NHL draft tonight is live from the Sphere in Las Vegas. Rounds 2 through 7 will be tomorrow. Preds have the 22nd overall pick tonight in the first round. They will have 2 picks in each of the next 3 rounds as well.
There's a watch party here at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. If you don't have huge plans, come out and be a part of it.
Yeah. The scuttlebutt comes from TSN's Pierre Lebrun. It's been reported that Nashville's been taking calls about moving Askarov, but it sounds like the price for Askarov is going to be getting Nashville into the top 5. That's maybe where those later picks come in, too, if you need a little sweetener for the deal. Might be all smoke and mirrors, but definitely something to monitor tonight.
I don't see it happening.
You don't think so?
Nope. Do not.
Certainly have to be a Hail Mary, one would imagine. In other hockey news yesterday, Roman Josi finished second in the Norris Trophy Award voting for the best defender, runner-up behind Quinn Hughes. That's the second time he's finished runner-up for the award. Great season for Roman Josi. He was named as a first-team All-Star, Philip Forsberg as a second-team All-Star. So exciting to see him get some recognition. And there was some movement late for him to the Norris Trophy, but it felt like Hughes had it pretty much all the way.
What else?
We got NBA free agency starts this weekend. The big news is that the big free agent to watch is Paul George. He has a team option with the Clippers, but it's been rumored the 76ers have been trying to make some moves to be able to go get George.
I am so sick of hearing about Paul George, who there are some people that want to tell you he's one of the 10 best players in the NBA, to which I say, no, he isn't. Now, is he in the top 20 to 22 players in the league? Probably so. Every time you turn around, Paul George seems to be on the move. And I asked the question, why is that?
Yeah, at what point do you look at the common denominator and start to say that, listen, if he wants to consider himself, what he believes he is, which is an all-star, he has to produce at that level and produce in the playoffs. And he's been, historically not very good in the playoffs when his teams needed him to step up. You think about that Dallas series, especially in games 5 and 6, where he really struggled. So you wonder, could he fit into a system in Philadelphia? But so far he's seen that he can't really drop his ego to do that.
I think a month ago, Philly was all over him. I think that's quieted down a bunch.
Yeah.
Really do.
Tobias Harris will be something to monitor, too. He's out of contract. Obviously, he's been with the 76ers the last couple of years, but hadn't been the third option that I think Philly wanted him to be. LeBron also a free agent, but with Bronny being drafted, I think it's a foregone conclusion that he's headed back to Los Angeles.
If you're asking yourself, was there an unwritten rule around the league that nobody would touch Bronny unless it was the Lakers? Do I think that happened? I do.
Do you think anyone wanted Bronny, though?
Not particularly.
Right.
Look, you have to understand the heart thing is you got to take that into consideration. But his freshman year at USC, is nothing to get anybody excited. Now, did the Lakers do this because they really believe in this kid or because it was the guarantee of keeping LeBron happy? My guess is it's more B than A.
I would agree. And, listen, at, 6'1", I think is what he's listed at. Like, he's not going to be able to, the way he's been scoring, it's just his game isn't going to translate. It's going to be a serious project for anyone to take on. But, again, we saw it with the Redick thing, right? If LeBron's happy and they're making headlines, seems like the Lakers are content to keep moving the boat.
Here's the other thing, though. This is kind of a cover your butt kind of statement. He's a year off a major heart situation. So,
right.
We done?
We are.
Okay. We'll go to the break, and then Nashville Sounds play-by-play voice Jeff Him will join us. We got a lot to talk about today. A lot of stuff going on. Do not go anywhere. You're listening to The George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Nashville, get ready for the greatest show on turf. Electrifying, high-octane, non-stop spring football action. Starting at only $30. Don't miss the season opener this April 27th at Municipal Auditorium.
Hi, I'm Jeff Fisher. The Nashville Cats are bringing arena football back to Nashville.
Grab your tickets now at thenashvillecats.com and be part of the action.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
We are back from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, from one of the conference rooms. Notice, oh, hold on. Wrong way to turn there. Predators have just scored. Thank you very much. NHL draft is tonight. We are awaiting Sounds play-by-play voice Jeff Him. I'll tell you up front where I'm going to go with this, because this may surprise some people. The Brewers, now you've got the Sounds is the AAA affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers, and obviously all of their players want to get to the big time. Not a big surprise there. So Milwaukee's been in need of starting pitching, and a year ago they pulled a rabbit out of the hat with Julio Teheran, the former Brave. And to be honest, Julio Teheran was way better for about a month and a half than the Brewers had any right to expect. So they went back into that bargain basement bag of tricks a few days ago for Dallas Keuchel, 2015 American League Cy Young Award winner. The problem is Dallas Keuchel hadn't gotten anybody out in about 4 years and really has been on the baseball junk heap. So they acquire him from Seattle. I have never heard this before. For $1, Seattle was so willing to get rid of him. $1. Okay? $1.
You going to get us a new pitcher?
No, but I can pay for Dallas Keuchel. There we go. $1. In baseball terms, we didn't really want him. So he makes a start in Milwaukee, while I suspect that the Sounds starting pitchers were seething, going, what the hell? Dallas Keuchel, anyway, he got shelled in his first start, 4 innings, didn't get a whole lot done. And that's one of the things in minor league baseball that goes on, is that while those players are playing on the AAA level, they're looking ahead to what's going on the major league level. By the way, we're doing everything we can. The tarp is on the field, and every effort is being made to get old Jeff Him. However, thus far, not so good.
Big game tonight. Do you know where they are this weekend? They're out on the road. They should be back next
Jacksonville.
week. Jacksonville. Exciting venue. I wonder, is this kind of what the Brewers need from a pitching perspective? I mean, do you think there's a chance this works? And if it does, to to really elevate them above the rest of the Central?
Well, first of all, it's not going to work.
You don't think so?
No, Dallas Keuchel is a has-been, washed up for about 4 years. The last, I would say, halfway useful stuff was as a Brave. And from that point on, he hadn't been worth a hoot.
Mm-hmm. Definitely be something to watch, but
we're stalling for a minute. We'll continue to stall for a minute, but then we may move to other excitement.
Plenty to go around.
Well, let me say this. I have done this before to a show or two, forgotten that I was going on. They're calling. They keep calling. It sounds like Ferris Bueller. They keep calling. They keep calling. I did it last week to a show, and luckily I caught it about 2 or 3 minutes in. And you know what? It's life. It happens.
Absolutely. Big road trip too, so we'll stick around.
Okay, so I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. As we've got a minute, it does not look like Jeff Him is going to join us at the moment. So, what do you say we go ahead and take a break, and then I'll try to call him and see if we can get him on. That sounds good. Okay. Calling all, what do they say when you're calling all something or other? When you've got the all points bulletin out.
Calling all our listeners?
Calling all Jeff Hims. Okay, we'll see if we can get him. If not, we may go to the phones a little bit early. So let's go to the break. This stuff happens every once in a while when you're a sports talk show host. You got to go with the flow. This is the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. A call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Where we have to pivot. We can't find Jeff Him. Let's hope he's alive down in Jacksonville. So we're going to open up the phones in all seriousness. This happens every once in a while, and you have to pivot, and we just simply make it work. 615-844-5600. That is our number. Again, 615-844-5600. Here is one thing in rain delay stall mode that I would like to hear from some of you. I went off yesterday about the Schlossnagel story, and I did about 5 or 6 different points about it that really have not been brought out. For instance, did Texas ask for and or receive permission from A&M to talk to Schlossnagel? Because that is a professional courtesy that is out there, and it's expected to be out there. And you know dadgum good and well, and I do too, that the answer is Texas couldn't have cared less. And as I brought up yesterday, when they play for the first time in several years in football, one of the other traditions is that the visiting AD gets a suite for all of his people. If I'm Trev Alberts, I'm calling Chris Del Conte at Texas and saying, listen, you can buy 2 tickets in the end zone. We're not giving you squat.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way to pay it back, right, is pay it back in kindness. You were also talking about...
that's a kindness.
Well, pay it back in kind.
In kind.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You were also mentioning, about what was the level to which he may or may not have been recruiting for Texas while he was still at A&M. What's he saying to a high school kid that he is recruiting at A&M? I mean, is he just selling him on himself as a coach? Is he selling the Texas thing at all? I wonder what those conversations have been like, because it's not like recruits haven't been calling him probably the past, month or two since it's alleged this contact started as early as late April. So to what degree was he recruiting for Texas A&M, or was he trying to send these kids to Texas?
I don't know.
It's an interesting thing to monitor.
Okay. I'm looking for 3 red-blooded Americans out there who will jump on the phones and talk a little sports with me. We were trying to get Jeff Him from the Sounds for his regular weekly visit, and something may have come up that didn't allow it. I'm looking at the computer. We've got 2 of the 3 lines full. I need one more to jump in at 615-844-5600. Jeffrey down in Fayetteville, Tennessee, Kelly Holcomb territory. Welcome.
Thank you, George. I want to take a look at college as a whole real quick, and then just stay with me. And let's talk about like all these NIL deals and all these things happening for college kids. They don't have to go to class. They don't have to do these things as much and take it as serious. Do you see them, the guys that don't get to move on to the pro and professional level, have an identity crisis more now than ever?
What do you help me here? I'm lost. What do you mean by that?
I mean, all this time that you're spending in your sport, you're doing all these things, like you're going in the 6 a.m. training, you're going to the practice, you're eating lunch together, like your whole identity, and you don't have time for internships, you don't have time for these jobs. Do you see an identity crisis happening more now than ever because you put so much of your identity into the sport? So when you don't get to move on to that professional level, you don't know who you are, what to do.
Yeah, you're giving me something that I'll admit I'm not. I don't know that I'm capable of really knowing what they're dealing with. I was a student, in college, and I was a radio announcer. I worked for 4 years at a commercial station. If you told me that after that was over, I would have no chance at a professional broadcasting career, yeah, I'd have been lost. So I guess I see where you're coming from, that some of these kids may be lost. Other than that, I don't really know how to answer it.
Well, let's look at it this way. Okay, Bronny James just got drafted. His whole career, his whole life, he's been surrounded by LeBron. He's been around the NBA environment, and say he doesn't get drafted. What does he do next? I mean, apparently his agent's like, oh, he's going to Australia. He's doing these things. But what does that look for him? Like he would feel lost at that moment.
Okay, first of all, I'm assuming that the dad in this case had enough of a confidence level in the son to say, look, I know you're a pro. The heart thing makes it a little goofy. His stats at USC, you couldn't have paid the light bill on. But we don't know what, physically his condition was as he got through that scare. The miracle probably is that he played at all. So somebody in there has the confidence, I'm kind of saying LeBron, that this kid's good enough on the pro level. So who knows?
Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you, George.
Okay. But he brought some interesting stuff up.
Yeah, and you do wonder. Kelly's talked about this at length, the way that maybe a locker room changes. And I mean, you always had locker rooms where some guys were getting ready and poised for pro careers, and some guys weren't. And so how do you balance that? But now you've got all this stuff with agents, and I'd assume we might see holdouts and guys in the transfer portal. So how do you manage those team dynamics? And of course, we've seen scenarios where guys that are making the most money in college aren't always the most pro ready. So I understand that some of those numbers could end up being a little bit deceptive in terms of what you're looking at NIL. And you say to yourself, well, if I'm in the top whatever percent in college, then surely I'm going to have enough in the pro game to make my money. But you never know how those numbers could shake out because the games don't always translate.
I love this. I got this from Jeff Him. Was down getting my pregame show interview taped and completely blanked. We'll have him on sometime next week. Got one line open now, and I want a red-blooded American who wants to talk a little sports to jump in. Got one line open, 615-844-5600. Somebody jump in. Johnny in Hendersonville, you are up next.
George, Billy, how we doing today?
We're good. Hope you are.
Yeah, well, my question's going to go back to the Predators. Everyone sees the move Trotz made to re-sign Saros, and it's kind of become clear to me that in contrast to David Poile, who outside of maybe Shea Weber, PK Subban, he didn't make that many big splashes, whereas Trotz, it's get rid of Duchesne, sign Saros long-term, all these moves. And that brings me to draft night tonight. Do you have confidence in Trotz? Because clearly he's been in NHL locker rooms. Do you have confidence in his ability to make these big moves and not, have them flip upside down on him? And do you expect him to make another one either tonight or before the offseason is over?
Let me say this. My confidence level in Barry Trotz starts with the coach because I think when he was a coach, man, this guy was solid as a rock. And what he took over at the beginning was a carcass of a franchise, which is what any expansion team other than Vegas, which had different rules, would come into. It just is. So, number one, he was solid as a rock as a coach. I had a feeling going in when I started hearing that he might be the GM that this was really going to go good because Barry had a pulse of a locker room. First of all, some of those guys who are in that locker room now played for him. And I have no doubt that at some point, if he had questions about character issues in the locker room, that there were 2 or 3 guys in there that would shoot him straight. Now, what I believe I know is before he ever got the job, he knew that Duchesne was a huge problem in their locker room. Okay? If I knew it, surely to goodness he knew it. And so, look, I don't know where it's going from here, but I got total confidence, Billy, in Barry Trotz.
And I mean, as you should, what he's done since he's taken over to acquire the kind of capital that he's acquired and still maintain a product on the ice that's competitive and really was a couple bounces away from winning a playoff series this year. And I think the number one most important thing when they talk about building the foundation of what this team's going to be is the alignment, which you talked about. You have a coach who played for this GM, knows exactly what kind of team that Barry Trotz wants to build. Burnett knows the kind of guys that he wants to coach, and Trotz, I think, has a good feel for who those guys are. So when you go around and you see these kids in workouts, when you interview them, I think Trotz has a pretty good finger on the pulse in what he's looking for, not only in terms of the kind of player he wants, but, the kind of attitude and the kind of mentality he feels like he needs from the guys on the ice that Burnett can then turn into what they did this year because – they got asked a tough question in February, which was basically, what does this mean to you? Are you willing to grit up and do what it takes to turn this thing around? And they did down the stretch.
He forced the issue. I think It's called Vegas.
Yeah.
Johnny, appreciate your phone call.
Yeah, I will add that tonight the draft is in the Sphere, also the site of that iconic U2 performance that the Predators never got to attend. So let y'all chew on that. Y'all have a good one.
How ironic.
I wonder if we have any. The Grateful Dead's been in there for like a month. I wonder if there's any remnants of the Grateful Dead, some smells that might still be lingering, or some,
or maybe, remnants of the late Bill Walton.
Yeah.
Bob in Antioch, you are up next. Welcome.
Good afternoon. You may have covered this in the last few days. I've been out of town, so I apologize if it's repetitious. But
no problem.
What is your opinion, evaluation, if you will, of the current state of Vanderbilt baseball?
Well, let me start it this way. I've thought for 3 years that what really has changed is that their everyday lineup didn't scare anybody. They did not have, I didn't think, the big bopper. Seldom were they able to, you can mask a lot of problems with a 3-run homer. And their lineup, to me, just never had that. It probably was easier a year ago to play small ball when you had at the top of the order Enrique Bradfield. And they didn't have that. They really didn't have any great speed at the top of the order. And so, they kind of muddled their way through. And then they seemed to find something in Birmingham that none of us quite knew where it was coming from. My guess is, knowing Tim Corbin, that he probably went to Mike Baxter back in late April and said, hey, if this doesn't get considerably better between now and the end of the season, I'm going to have to make some changes. He's made those changes. It appears that he has really gotten aggressive in the portal, which I don't think he deep down wanted to do, but he has done it. And it appears to me that he has bowed his neck and said, I'm bringing this thing back to where it was. I'm excited to see where it's going.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's encouraging, because I know that you've got your finger on the pulse of it. So you think that their recruiting is looking good for next year?
I don't pretend to know on the high school level. What I think I do know is that he got really aggressive in the portal. They signed 2 or 3 kids that really seem to be impact. The big kid from Michigan State who's 6'7", you know, that's kind of Grayson Garvin-esque if you go back a few years. It sounds to me like he has sort of rededicated himself. And like I said, when all this was going down, what probably made it harder is the fact that it was Tennessee that was passing them by. Fan base sits there and goes, okay, we have to accept that Tennessee's always going to be better in football. We've had to put up with Jerry Stackhouse's laziness and watched Tennessee basketball completely overwhelm Vandy. And they used to always feel like, okay, the one thing we know we can count on is baseball. And then when Tennessee baseball passed them by, I think it created a real level of frustration.
Well, that's what I was going to my next question. How much of what do you think the effect of Tennessee winning has had on their pro? I mean, do you think that's just a knockout punch, or do you? Because I'm a huge Vanderbilt fan.
Knowing Corbin, I wouldn't think it's a knockout punch. I think it may be a wake-up call that says, okay, you know, this, you know, that we're going to have to play the game. I'm kind of talking as Tim Corbin because I don't think he enjoyed transfer portal, but I think he probably had to wake up one morning and say, well, damn, if this is what everybody else is doing, then this is what I got to do.
What if I can ask a couple more Vanderbilt questions?
Sure.
What do you think the prospects are for the football season?
You know, who knows? It was a disaster a year ago. He's made some coaching changes. I thought their offensive schemes a year ago were a joke. I think getting rid of Joey Lynch was huge. I couldn't figure out what they were trying to do on offense. Hopefully they've got a better plan this year because there better be some improvement. If it looks this year like it did last year, there's going to be a lot of yapping again. You know it and I know it.
Yeah, is the stadium completed now?
I don't really know. I haven't been over there in a while. It sounds like they're talking like it might be, but as of this moment, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information. I'm certainly. I mean, I think regardless of, I mean, I know that there are more UT people, UT fans than there are Vandy fans, but that's because there are more idiots than there are sane people. And
do you want to give out your address so that some of those people can talk to you?
I think Corbin is the best baseball coach in the United States, regardless what the current flavor of the month is. But I just hope that he can get it back to where it needs to be.
Thanks for your call.
All right, thank you.
Next up is Mike in Melrose. Mike, I got about 3 minutes.
All right, I'll go quick. I'm calling from my car phone. I just left Vanderbilt.
Hold on a minute. That's the first car phone that we've had since I've gotten back on radio. One of the dumber things I've ever said. I don't know why it was always a car phone, but Mike, thank you for humoring me.
Yeah, I just went over to Vanderbilt to pick something up, and there's a progress there. It's like the Flintstones are working. There's nobody working. Nothing's being done. But anyway, George, what did you say a couple nights ago? You said something about the Mets. I think you said a word that rhymes with duck. And since then, I mean, they've won 17 out of 22.
Yeah, and quietly. I didn't realize the streak was that good. They're over 500 now. So let's redo the statement. The Mets, while not where they want to be, are making progress. How's that?
Thanks to Grimace throwing out the first pitch. Real quick trivia, George. Who were the two pitchers that back-to-back no-hitters at Greer Stadium? You remember?
Oh, God.
Back-to-back nights, no-hitters.
Okay, here's first of all, I don't know the answer, but here is what I'm going to throw out there. There were back-to-back major league no-hitters, Giants and Cardinals back in the early 70s or late 60s. I want to say Ray Washburn and Jim Perry, but I'm going to have to look it up. Now, you got to help me on yours.
I thought you would know that Jack Armstrong and some guy named Randy Johnson. And the Sound still beat him. He threw a no-hitter, and the Sound still won.
Let me ask you this. When you saw him back then, he was an Indianapolis Indian. Did you think he'd go on to a Hall of Fame career?
Well, I knew he was pretty good. I mean, 6'10", throw 100 miles an hour. So, I mean, just ask John Crook what it's like.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, George, remind everybody where you were the night Sid Bream slid into home plate.
I was at Atlanta Stadium for the first 8 innings of the game and somehow matriculated to my Honda Accord, which had the license plate Braves 2, and I saw the 9th inning from a cigarette, from a television, a black and white TV plugged into a cigarette lighter, which, by the way, is illegal. You're not supposed to.
All right, y'all have a good weekend.
Okay, you too. He did that on purpose, didn't he? So let me do this. I'm going to take another big batch of phone calls at around 5:25. By the way, we did make contact with Jeff Him, and I loved it. He just said, I blanked. I was taping my pregame show and totally forgot. Jeff, if you're out there, I totally get it. I am just as guilty of it as you are. At 5:20, give or take a minute or two, I'll reopen the phones. Tony in Nolensville, I'm going to want you back at that point, and I'm going to take a bunch of calls after that. So thanks to all of you who got me through the first hour of this when Jeff was not able to be on. Mark McGee will join us to start the 5 o'clock hour. Before that, we'll have Stat of the Day. We got plenty more coming from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. You're listening to The George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
Dog parents are loving Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend Premium Dog Food.
The way she acts and the way she moves, it's just so much better. And she acts like she's like a puppy again. It's unbelievable.
Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend is a freeze-dried raw food made with 0 artificial preservatives, so it's naturally shelf-stable with no mess, freezer, or fridge required. Plus, it's full of premium turkey, beef, salmon, and meat your dog will love.
We started with Nature's Blend. She's happy, she sleeps well, she's energetic. I am just delighted with this product.
When given the choice, Nature's Blend and Amazon's #1 bestseller in dry dog food, 29 out of 30 dogs chose Nature's Blend first.
I'm so confident your dog will love it. Your order is back with a 90-day guarantee.
Save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free bag of delicious beef liver treats. Go to drmartypets.com/healthy or text healthy to 511-511. Text healthy to 511-511. All pets are unique. Your pet's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply. Studies available upon request. Paid for by Dr. Marty's Pets.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
There aren't any cops around.
After every game, we always have a few. It's no big deal.
It was just a few drinks. I'm good.
Hey, I can hold my liquor. I drink and drive all the time.
If you put away some drinks, put away your keys. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security.
Buy
buyandtow.com. Get cash for junk cars. Do you have a vehicle that's become a problem? You can get cash in your hand today and your vehicle hauled away. They'll buy your vehicle no matter the condition, in your driveway, at your mechanic shop, or even on the side of the road. You can call them at 615-480-6473 or visit buyandtow.com. Get cash in your hand today and your vehicle hauled away. 615-480-6473, buyandtow.com. That's buyandtow.com.
Dame Dalla. Nobody was betting on this guy going into the postseason. He just reminded everybody why he needed to bust out of Portland, what he's really in Milwaukee for. Dame's like, Giannis? No Giannis? Psst, please, have some. You know it's a great half when you don't score at all in the second half and you still lead them to an absolute beatdown. Great to see Dame looking like Dame, and I know the Bucks definitely agree because they need him now more than ever.
Jim Rome is here weekdays 11 to 2 on Nashville Sports Radio, WNSR.
Stat of the day brought to you by Whitehead Plumbing. If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised in Bellevue. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534. Let's take a look at our stat of the day.
Let's do.
Bobby Witt Jr. has been named an All-Star finalist in 2015. Another Royal shortstop started for the AL in the All-Star game. Name that player.
Okay, the first name that pops in for me is Freddie Pautek, which is going way back. I'm trying to think. Alcides Escobar is another one that pops into my head. I am going to, for argument's sake, say that it is one of the two, and then it is up to you to reveal.
Your second instinct was correct, Alcides Escobar.
Nice.
If you remember how dominant that team was in 15, they had, I believe it was 8 of the starting 11 were Kansas City Royals on the AL All-Star team that year.
Yeah. Led by a really good veteran in Alex Gordon. Alex Gordon was, when he came up, ballyhooed as this can't-miss deal, and he almost did miss. And when he finally started to get some traction on the major league level, it was really good. And he had a nice career at the end, and everybody who knew Alex Gordon was big on him.
Yeah, and you know, obviously I wasn't there in Kansas City in 15, but hearing some of the stories of that team from, you know, people I've met at school who, you know, were around, like the dominance of that team and the way that that it just kind of pieced together after that miracle run in 14 where they came a game short.
On the way to Omaha that year, I stopped off for 2 days and saw the Royals play the Red Sox, who had a rookie who had just been called up by the name of Mookie Betts.
Really?
Yeah, and he had a 4-hit day.
No kidding.
In like his second game in the majors.
No
anyway,
kidding.
Out of here for hour number 1. Mark McGee will talk us through what's been going on with the Preds. The big signing of UC Saros, what does it really mean? You'll learn it when we come back. This is the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
On air and online, Sports Radio WNSR, Brentwood, Nashville.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. New delays for the temporary floating humanitarian pier off Gaza's coast. For the third time, the U.S. military is moving it due to stormy seas. U.S. officials say it's unknown if it will be reinstalled unless aid already delivered and stored is distributed to Palestinians. Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh.
As we've always said with the pier, it is meant to be temporary. It is not the long-term solution or solve for land routes. We know that's the most effective way in, but that's really a decision that the commander will make as we continue to evaluate the high sea states.
President Biden at a rally today in North Carolina acknowledged his performance at last night's debate, saying it wasn't the best, but says he's still the right person to lead the country. His rival Donald Trump criticizing Biden's policies at a rally in Virginia. Massachusetts Attorney General announcing Uber and Lyft have settled a years-long lawsuit, including minimum pay standard of $32.50 an hour for drivers. This is ABC News.
Fireworks and celebrate Independence Day with the Omaha Steaks 4th of July sale. Save 50% off site-wide and fire up the perfect backyard cookout with tender steaks, juicy burgers, deli-style franks, and more family favorites. Shop today at omahasteaks.com and score an extra $30 off when you use promo code QUALITY at checkout. Plus, every purchase is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee. Hurry, because this offer won't last long. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code QUALITY at checkout.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Gas, groceries, utilities, you name it, the price of everything is going up, and if you're stuck in a bad timeshare with rising maintenance fees, the financial burden can be crushing. It is time to get your finances in order and get the real facts about that timeshare that you are stuck in and your options to get rid of it. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has been helping families out of horrible timeshares for over 10 years and has put together a complete timeshare exit information kit that he will send you absolutely free. To date, over 30,000 families have trusted Wesley Financial Group to help them out of financial hardship by getting them out of bad timeshares. Get the facts about how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation. Simply call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit and see how you can become timeshare free. Call 800-462-3333. That's 800-462-3333. Once again, 800-462-3333.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex. Welcome back to the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with Gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Predators appear to already be making some level of noise, and with that in mind, we welcome in Mark McGee to our broadcast. Gee, thanks for taking the time to do this.
Glad to do it. It's not some level of noise. This is a big noise. There's a lot of chatter about this, about the Saros signing and what's going to happen to Yaroslav Askarov. There's a lot of talk.
Okay, let's start with that. So the organization has made the decision to sign UC Saros long-term. My gut reaction is this is never really what they wanted to do, but I'm not convinced they trust Askarov enough right now to turn it over to him. How close to true do you think that is?
Well, I think what happened was, Askarov had a great regular season. And something happened to him in the playoffs. They had to replace him in the playoffs. So he didn't play. As the playoffs got deeper, they replaced him. And so I think that maybe the confidence level got a little, they started thinking, I don't know. He only had the one game in the NHL this year. Granted, he did a great job, but that's not much of a sample to go on. But I think the thing is, people say, 8 years for Saros. Okay, yeah. I mean, and it's but what do you do with Askarov? What do you do with him? Where do you put him? I mean, send him back to Milwaukee for another year. I don't think he's going to be real happy with that. You draft him as the number one pick, and he feels like he's going to be your top goaltender one day. But I don't think he's going to wait 8 years to do it.
So
a lot of people were saying, well, it's like Pecorini and Chris and UC Saros. That's the same situation. I don't think so, because I think this will be more than a couple years. UC was apprenticed to Rene for about a couple years or so. I don't think that's going to. I mean, the money they're paying UC Saros, they're going to want him to be more than. They're going to want him to be around for a while and expect him to be an impact goaltender.
Guy, deep down, is this really the route they wanted to go?
Well, Barry, if you believe Barry Trotz, yeah. As he kept on saying, I think Barry even said, I want to grow old with UC Saros as our goaltender.
Okay, let me try it this way then. Because all of us had speculated that UC was the guy that could bring them the haul that might take them back a step early on, but in the long run would get them past this limping in the 8th spot in the playoffs. Now that appears to be off the table, how do they take the leap forward?
That's a good question. It's interesting that they just announced a while back this afternoon that Steven Stamkos, the Tampa Bay, not going to sign him. July 1st, he's a free agent. Stamkos' name came up a lot now. They've eaten a lot of currency up in signing UC Saros, but they still have enough in their cap situation that they could go after Stamkos and make him a very attractive offer, I think.
Now, wait a minute. Let me make sure I've got this right. They've said they're not signing him.
No, July 1st. His agent said today that July 1st, that Stamkos is on the market.
Okay, so that's a possibility. Obviously, Mitch Marner has been rumored for months. Do you think that one is in play?
I don't know. That was they were talking about trading UC Saros, but they weren't getting a haul back on that one. They were going to have to throw in somebody like Nyquist, maybe a draft pick or a secondary player to make that trade. They weren't getting anything back but Marner. So that what I was hearing, it wasn't going to be a big haul for Nashville. Right now, goaltenders. I mean, a lot of people want goaltenders, but a lot of people are feeling like goaltenders maybe aren't as valuable as people might think they are. But Connor Hallenbuck with the Winnipeg Jets to sign for 7 years at $8.5 million a year, and he's a Vezina Trophy winner. And so a lot of people were looking at how Hallenbuck was going to be, what Hallenbuck's numbers were going to be, and I think Saros's camp was looking at that as well to see what maybe the market would bear, because there was a goaltender move a couple weeks ago, and I'm at a loss. I can't remember which one, but the trade was not very impressive, and so I think it was hard to really figure out what was going on there. And a lot of people are now the belief, it used to always be the belief that you had to have the top goaltender to win the Stanley Cup. Now, Bobrovsky with the Florida Panthers, yes, top goaltender. Edmonton Oilers took it all the way to 7 games with goaltenders that were questionable at best. So a lot of people are saying, well, we don't necessarily need to have a top-flight goaltender to win. So it's interesting. It's been an interesting dynamic for the last few weeks.
Mark McGee is with us talking Predator hockey. Guy, with this signing of UC, what number does Barry have to work with in free agency as far as the cap's concerned?
I think he still has around $20 million left. I think. I believe that's right, somewhere along there. Because I think he had like 26 or 29 million. Plus the cap is going up this year too. So, but he's got some money to play with. Like I said, he could make Stamkos a very impressive offer if Stamkos wants to come to Nashville.
So
Maybe
speculate.
honest, yeah, they're killing it.
Speculate for me on, with about $20 million, how many pieces do you think Barry fills, and what are those pieces?
Well, he's got to have a center. He's got to have a second line center, at least. He needs a second line, and he needs also a pretty good winger that can score. And so he needs those two pieces, and he needs a defenseman that's real physical, big defenseman. Those are the three things he needs right now. And I think, yeah, can you get those? Maybe, probably. You at least get two of them. I think you might get three, but you at least get two of them. You may have to. There may be a trade working in there somewhere, that type of thing. But from a free agency standpoint, he might be able to do at least a couple of those. But I'm not so sure they don't do some trading. You look at their draft situation today. They got 8 picks. It's 5 less than last year. You got 8 picks. 7 of them are in the top 4 rounds. And so that's pretty good. I think they got 2 in the second, and one in the first. So they've got a lot of draft currency there that they could spend. And the draft, the draft is kind of like all over the place right now, as far as who's going to be. Number one's pretty much solid, but the rest of the way through, they're not really sure. Nobody really knows what's going to happen after number one. And and the draft is, they've never picked at the 22nd spot. They picked 23rd, 24th, and what's really interesting is Jeff Kelty, who's their assistant GM and the scouting director. He got drafted in the 22nd spot in the first round by Quebec Nordiques years ago. So that's kind of a little trivia thing there. But so I don't know. They're looking in the draft. Most of the draft possibilities I'm looking at. They're looking at a couple of defensemen that might give them some size and some skill, and also looking at 2 or 3 centers right now. So that they need a center, because these guys are 2 or 3 years away from that, or 4 years away maybe from making an impact on the team at all. So, but he's got to go out in free agency and find the picks and find the pieces he needs, because they've got to bulk up the offense. Even though they signed UC back, they still they've got to bulk up the offense. They've got to do that, and they've got and the defense. It's hard to really say that about Nashville, because Nashville's always had strong defense, but they've got to bulk up the defense a little bit too.
Mark, a year ago at this time with the draft in Nashville, you mentioned it earlier, they had a bunch of draft picks. Are any of those from last year close to ready to help the big club?
Not that I don't think so. Maybe I don't think there are, no. And the draft is, there are exceptions. UC Stars was a 4th round pick. But the general consensus is that, that very few players after the 24th or 25th spot in the draft, somewhere along in there, have much of a chance of making it to the NHL. There's like I said, and of course, Patrick Hornquist was a huge outlier. He was the last player picked in Toronto several years ago. We had to look him up. Nobody knew who he was, and he had a great career in the NHL. But there are exceptions, but for the most part, your top people are in the top 20 picks or so. So, I don't know that any of those guys are really close to being there yet. No, they've got to go out, and now they have some young guys that played in Milwaukee, and some of them played for a while in Nashville. They got some people like that could come in and maybe elevate their games, and that could easily happen. But he's also got some prospects. They've got a deep prospect pool, and so he's got some prospects, and he's got some guys who, like Tomasino, Cody Glass, people like that, who would be probably interested. People would be interested in getting in a trade situation, maybe a package deal of some sort. So he's got some assets that he could trade.
At the end of the season, Andrew Burnett did not hide whatsoever his feelings about Tomasino. it certainly appeared he's in some level of doghouse. Number one, what got him there? And number two, in their mind, is he done as a Pred?
I would think so. He was just so inconsistent. A lot of that had to do with he was up and down all the time. It's hard to get consistency when you're not sure what color, what team uniform or what city you're going to be playing in, and so that hurt him a little bit. But I think that was the big thing, just the lack of consistency he had. You know, when he was good, he was very good, and when he was bad, he was hard. You know, so so I think that had a lot to do with it. And he is definitely not in favor with Edward Burnett right now. So I would see Thomasino probably be, something may be happening with him for sure.
Okay, last thing for you is we sit here early in the 5 o'clock hour on Friday. I think this is today's 28th. Is that right? A week from now, Friday, July the 5th. Is the off season essentially over by then?
Pretty much. Yeah, I think so. Unless there might be a trade or two here and there, but I would say it's pretty much over with. But then, before we leave, though, we got to congratulate David Poile and Shea Weber.
Oh, absolutely.
Hockey Hall of Fame, both first ballot, both of them. David joins his dad, Bud Poile, and of course Shea comes in, and so those were two great picks for the Predators right there to have in the Hall of Fame.
One's a general manager legend, and the other is a frustrated Toronto Blue Jay fan.
Yep. Who could flat shoot a hockey puck.
Ooh, could he ever?
With tremendous power and speed. But and David was, like I said, he's a quintessential general manager, and so I was so glad to see them make it, and especially with David going in with his father's already in, and so his dad used to deal with Larry Schmittou in the Central Hockey League the year that the South Stars were AAA, and Bud Poile deserved to be in the Hall of Fame just for that. So, I was thrilled to see them both get in.
Okay, our thanks, first of all, to Mark McGee for taking the time to join us. Guy, hang on the line, if you will, for a minute. For those of you who are listening, we're going to open the phones after the break. So I want you to go ahead and get in and react to anything you want to react to at 615-844-5600. That's 615-844-5600. We'll go to the break by telling you you're listening to The George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Nashville, get ready for the greatest show on turf. Electrifying, high-octane, non-stop spring football action. Starting at only $30. Don't miss the season opener this April 27th at Municipal Auditorium.
Hi, I'm Jeff Fisher. The Nashville Cats are bringing arena football back to Nashville.
Grab your tickets now at thenashvillecats.com and be part of the action.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688. 56 8. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Drug in at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. Pete Weber, ladies and gentlemen, play-by-play voice of the Nashville Predators. Notice we have a score right behind you.
Colton Sissons and Philip Forsberg.
Do we think that might have been the Anaheim series?
That would be my guess. And it was Sissons had the hat trick in that last game of that series, which sent the Predators for the first time ever to the Cup final.
Which was about as loud an arena as I have ever been a part of. But let's get to the important issues of the day, Pete. Your perspective on A&M Texas. Because I know you've been paying attention to this.
Have I ever? And I'm sorry I missed the live carriage of the post-game media conference when Schlossnagel got his break question about maybe moving on. Number one, I would like to know the source for the person who asked that question, because obviously it was impeccable.
Well, you know that there have been some great scoops. My buddy Brent Zwerneman broke the Texas and OU is coming to the SEC, and there have been some pretty good journalistic stuff that have gone on there. My contention is that the A&M players went into Game 3 knowing that there's stuff going on.
I wouldn't be surprised at that. Perceptive group of young men.
Which leads me to believe that...
An asterisk next to UT is the College World Series champions?
No, but here's what it would lead me to believe. That if the players had gotten wind that he was leaving, there was probably a private meeting in somebody's room where they gave him down the road. What do you think?
I could understand that. I can see that happening. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is man, and we were talking here amongst the group and thinking about how close this was in many ways to what happened back when I was a young man, and that's a long time ago.
Okay.
But the 1964 Cardinals-Yankees managerial jockeying. Johnny Keane resigned from the Cardinals the day after they won the World Series over the Yankees. The Yankees fired Yogi Berra and hired Johnny Keane to take his spot.
It happens.
Yes. And that's all because Leo DeRocher was rumored to be the next Cardinals manager. Pushing for that was then Gussie Bush's advisor, a guy by the name of Branch Rickey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that was not the only time Yogi got shown the door with the Yankees.
No.
As we remember, George Steinbrenner fired him 16 games into the, 83 season?
Yeah, when he said he would not fire him.
Right.
Prior to all of that.
And Yogi then spent the next 14 years not willing to ever step foot in Yankee Stadium.
Right. And I understand why.
Yeah.
I've spent some time talking with his granddaughter, Lindsay, who has done a lot of that work on that Netflix documentary that I think most of us have seen. And she helped put that all together.
What's the worst one you've been a part of, or maybe the most uncomfortable, where a coach doesn't quite realize the magnitude of the stuff he's stepping in?
That might well be when I was with the Buffalo Sabres, and Teddy Nolan was brought in. He would ultimately won the Jack Adams Award as Coach of the Year that year. But he didn't realize he was getting a job that had essentially been promised to the former head coach's assistant, who you all know his name now, John Tortorella.
Oh, wow.
So John Tortorella got pushed down to the Rochester Americans, won a Calder Cup there against a guy named Barry Trotz, who was coaching Portland.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In 1996. But that was Civil War. We had to walk on eggshells around the Sabres offices throughout the entire period of time. And there's still the guy who wins the Coach of the Year award.
Okay, let me try one on you here. I brought it up yesterday. In the old days that you and I kind of grew up in, before Schlossnagel ever went to the microphone, a sports information director with a pulse, with the ability to put a noun and a verb together, who has half a brain, would have grabbed him before he walked in that room and said, listen, you need to know that those guys up there in that press box, they know what's going on.
Yes.
You better be very careful, because what I've been hearing over the last 5-6 innings, they know something's going on. I don't think anybody did that with him.
If they did, they weren't very effective, obviously.
God, you think?
Yeah, that was brutal. That was, not what any public relations person would possibly have designed.
But that's what used to happen in the old days of what I refer to as sports information, SID work on the college level. Now a lot of people call it athletic communications. There are a lot of different buzzwords. But in the old days, the SID would warn the coach, listen, all hell's about to break loose.
Be careful.
Be careful.
Yeah, be careful. But obviously, didn't happen.
And I also brought up that I'm pretty certain that the professional courtesy in the college level of saying to somebody, may I have your permission to talk to Pete Weber, who is your hockey coach? We'd like to hire him as our hockey coach. And clearly that professional courtesy was not given to A&M. And so I speculated yesterday that if I were Trev Alberts, the AD at A&M, that I would make clear to Del Conte, listen, you're not getting a suite when you all come to play here.
Yeah.
You'll get 2 tickets in the end zone, and I hope you fall dead in them, or something.
And very high up in that end zone.
Very high, way up in that upper deck.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the kind of issues, Pete, that look like the lines have been totally blurred, that there is no professional courtesy anymore whatsoever.
And now that we have UT and Oklahoma coming into the SEC.
UT as in Texas.
UC, the burnt orange Texas coming in.
That one.
That's going to make things a little bit different. And obviously, wow, Texas A&M. Now, what are they going to do?
Oh, who knows? I mean, they'll get a good baseball coach.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm wondering, Pete. In my lifetime, I would say Alabama-Auburn was probably the nastiest rivalry. I mean, there have been, people have burned down trees.
Yes. Just ask the arborists.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff in the name of a rivalry. Ole Miss Mississippi State has had some really ugly moments. But I'm starting to think A&M Texas is about to rise to the head of the class of ugly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really thinking that it's probably as ugly as you could possibly get without any question there. And I'm also thinking about what it was like going through, if there was an SID, as you said, with a brain there, why nothing happened before that post-gamer?
So if you're Greg Sankey, first of all, the bitterness between the two schools is good for print.
Yep.
Probably sells tickets. But if you're the commissioner of that league, do you sort of do a little bit what John Swafford did years ago with Dean Smith and Rick Barnes, invite them to the house and say, look, we got to calm this down because this is getting out of control?
I think absolutely. I would have not just breakfast, I'd have lunch, and I'd have dinner because I think that's going to be a lengthy conversation as required.
Do you think that thought crosses Sankey's mind?
Oh, I would imagine it's crossed many times in the last 3-4 days.
Yeah. So, okay, we got to a story you clearly have enjoyed. What else have you enjoyed in your downtime?
Well, I'd have to, number one, here it was, Game 7, Stanley Cup Final, and how could I possibly leave? But I went to the Pirates and the Reds in Cincinnati on Monday so I could see my buddy Greg Brown and the Pirates, and I was such good luck to him. They only lost 11-5 that game. Then they went on and won the last 2 games of the series before leaving Cincinnati.
They're getting better.
Yes, they are. And I got to see my buddy Matt Winters, former Sound.
Oh, wow.
Now scout for the Nippon Ham Fighters, as he came in with Al Hargesheimer, if you remember him. He was a pitcher in AAA ball. He pitched for Rocky Bridges in Phoenix when I was doing Albuquerque. And a baseball executive by the name of Randy Smith, Tal Smith's son.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Who works now for the Ham Fighters as well. So we just told unbelievable numbers of old stories throughout the game on Monday night.
So a lot of lies.
Yes. Maybe not as many as last night in Atlanta, but a lot of lies. And I'm not trying to get too political here.
Wow. I wonder where I go from here. I can tell you where we're not going.
Yes.
We're not going to the debate.
I didn't watch it because I've been exhausted by the whole process.
Yeah. Okay, so back to sports.
Yes, which is much more fun.
How significant for you, having been in the NHL for a long time, and there had been a time where you could put Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final on TV and draw a test pattern?
If that good.
If that good. And now all of a sudden, with maybe a break that there was no competition from the NBA for a week, that the numbers on those last 2 games were really pretty significant.
Very significant. Now, what number did I see lastly? 18 million for Monday night's game?
Is that what it was?
Yes. So that is, in and of itself, absolutely incredible. And to think that on a June Monday night, that many people south of the border were watching the National Hockey League. And obviously it's not 2 markets that capture your imagination. Edmonton and Sunrise, Florida? No, I don't think so. So it was the product.
So clearly people are getting into it.
Yeah.
It's growing. If you had something like, I'm trying to make one up here that makes sense, the Rangers, who would have had a huge Eastern market.
Yes.
And I don't know, L.A. Kings.
Now
in
that
Game 7, what would that number have been?
They had a Game 6 between those 2 teams back in 2014.
Right.
And it was nowhere near that. I'm thinking that maybe the best draw might have been Rangers and Dallas Stars, 2 very large markets. And I think that would have been something spectacular with the numbers. I think it probably, in Dallas, all you have to do is say Dallas whatever, even though they were already spoiled by having the Mavericks in there, and our buddy Chuck Cooperstein was only able to get one win out of all of that. But that was what that was all about.
Is this simply that the public is now being exposed to it enough through the ESPN deal where they're saying, wait a minute, this is pretty good?
Yes, it is.
Is that it?
I think it's a great deal of it, and maybe there's even a little Charles Barkley involved too.
Yeah.
Yes, he's come out publicly and told people how much he is a fan of the game. And then he showed up in one of the early final games in South Florida.
Let me take one phone call for Pete real quickly. Jeff in Murfreesboro, say hello to Pete Weber. Hello, Jeff, are you there? Okay. Apparently he's not there. Then we will go to the break, and we will continue this conversation with Predators play-by-play voice Pete Weber as you're listening to 95.9 FM and the George Plaster Show. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in a car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. 458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. We welcome all of you back. If you're watching this by way of the podcast, Predators play-by-play voice Pete Weber is with us from the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. We were talking about the Game 7 rating numbers that the NHL put together. So 7.7 million viewers, which is a 182% increase from a year ago's Game 5 clinching.
Where there was no drama whatsoever.
Right. Vegas won it in kind of a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Okay, so the obvious area where it improved is because of ESPN. You know this stuff a lot better than I do. What else is driving it?
The quality of the play, number one. I think that's huge. I don't think there's any problem trying to determine that. And it's not star power, though. You have Connor McDavid, or better known by PK Subban as Connor McJesus,
right,
on the Edmonton side. But I think it's the quality of the play, and really, when it came down to Monday night, one club looks like it's going to do a cakewalk through the final, then all of a sudden loses 3 in a row. Now they have a chance to be the biggest bust since Dolly Parton if they do.
Oh my goodness!
Mess up there.
Now there's
in Game 7.
Didn't expect that one.
Yeah, but that's really what I think, that drama and quality of the play.
So the NBA, and who knows where this is going because Barkley's been really outspoken.
Has he ever?
But over the years, my goodness, what he's done to grow that sport on TNT is incredible. The closest thing hockey has, it seems to me, is Paul Bissonnette.
Yep. Biz nasty.
Yeah. Do they need more of a – do they need a Barkley?
And I think he would volunteer to join the crew.
Oh, it sure sounds like it right now.
I really do. And he has great relationship with Steve Levy.
Is that what the connection is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great relationship with him. And I'm hoping that we get Steve Levy here this fall for Brent Peterson for Parkinson's dinner.
They have a past history?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me get Tony in Nolensville real quickly. Tony, if you're there, say hello to Pete Weber.
Hello, George. Hello, Pete.
How you doing, Tony?
Pete, I worked in the deeds office right there on the same floor with the Predators' main office and met you many times up and down that hallway.
I hope I was always civil to you.
You were always very civil. It was always nice and polite, and I'm glad you kept some tight reins on Sean because someone needs to do it. What a great group. What a great group. But yeah, talked to you many times there in the building. Just echoing on what y'all have talked about on this Texas A&M, George, when I heard it, I thought it was pathetic. I want to say sleazeball is what I want to say to the coach because I lost a lot of respect for him. I mean, but in the day, in the college sports, you know, it's wrong now for anybody to be using the word anymore of dedication to the program and being part loyalty, all of those words, because there's none of that no more. The players are bouncing, coaches are bouncing, and the way that all transpired, you know, like George, you touched on it, Texas knew 2 weeks ago that they were going to fire their head coach and hire this Texas A&M coach because he and the AD were longtime buddies from TCU. And so they knew that was in the works on their side. They, of course, they had probably done talk to him, Schlossnagle.
Yep.
I think that's the way you say his name. But anyway, I just thought it's a bad, ugly look. And those two, George, you touched on this as well, and Pete, there is a distinct hatred out there. I think they really do despise each other. When Texas A&M wanted to get away from Texas when they got their TV channel, and then Texas ends up wanting to come to the SEC because they're, being asked to. And then, of course, at that time, Texas A&M won't sign a petition, and they were the only school who did not want to accept them. And we can all understand why. And now here they are going to do this. It's just an unending saga to, who killed JR and what goes on in Dallas. Just simply put.
Where's Kristen when we need her?
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's the truth. And I just think it's a bad look for everybody.
Oh, it's a horrible look for everybody. Tony, hang with us for a minute. Pete, there was a report that got out yesterday out of, I think it was Texag, that Del Conte told the players after they got beat in the regional at Texas that they were hiring Schlossnagle. I don't believe the report because I don't believe for a minute if all those players knew that, it would have gotten out.
Much quicker, yes, much quicker than it obviously did for the post-game news conference.
And if Del Conte did tell the players that, that's totally unprofessional.
Unprofessional, very, very ridiculous thing to even consider doing. And we're talking about a truly loose cannon if that's the case.
It just seems, Tony, I don't know if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here, George.
Yeah, I think what we're going to find out, and I think it will be before the 4th of July fireworks. I think we're going to find out that this was in the works for weeks and that Schlossnagle had a pretty darn good idea of what he was doing, but then took his stupid pills for the press conference. If indeed he knew, and Pete, I don't know about you, but I don't believe that you could just suddenly at 7 a.m. on Tuesday get the offer and be able to make the decision by noon that day. I mean, you think about all the things, how long's the contract? What's the salary? What's the buyout? What level of admissions does the University of Texas allow?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you can't.
George, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Now, how do you think he really was feeling inside? And this is a hypothetical thing, we'll never know, but you're addressing your team getting ready to go out of the locker room. We're fixing to play for the World Series national title. And you guys, we've done this, we've come so far. Knowing the whole time in 12 hours, he's boating. I mean, that's just absurd. It's absolutely ludicrous. It really is.
Great question, and it leads back to my belief that those kids, a bunch of them knew when they took the field for Game 3 against Tennessee, and they were probably royally pissed off that, hey, he's bolting, and the fact that he's bolting to Texas had to absolutely put blood in the water to an A&M person.
Absolutely.
Listen to your answer. What's going to be the most despised, most angry, most just unbelievable grit and game is going to come up? Is it going to be the football game or the first baseball game when they go head-to-head against each other? I'm going to let y'all talk about that. Thank you, George. Hey, y'all have a good weekend, guys.
Thank you. I think just for the sheer volume of people, the TV coverage, it's the football game by a mile.
More than a mile, in my mind's eye. But the first baseball game, we might all need a reminder that it's coming up on the schedule. And then time to tune in, boys and girls.
Because I don't know which one it is. In the SEC, one of the teams will go to the other for a 3-game series.
Yes.
And we could only wish that it would be at A&M.
Oh, absolutely.
God,
absolutely.
Can you imagine the cat calls?
Yep.
There's just a lot of ugly stuff here and some things that, they want you to believe that he made that decision on Tuesday, and I simply don't believe that.
Nor do I. Nor would any rational human being.
Right. I mean, you think about all the decisions that go into it. Like I said, this had to have been done ahead of time. And, Del Conte may be able to say, we never talked to Schlossnagle. No, they probably talked to his attorney.
Yeah.
His agent. Any of the above, all of the above. It's a sneaky and getting more slimy kind of business.
Very underhanded, yes.
So there was one I was thinking of, and I've lost the train of thought on it. of a press conference that really went awry. I will say that the one here, when Watson Brown got fired and Jerry DiNardo was hired one day later, and we come to find out that DiNardo had agreed to the deal back in October. Watson was still about 6 weeks away from being fired. That's probably the ugliest one that I've ever been a part of. The funniest piece of that whole saga, the late John Bibb from the Tennessean was still alive at the time. And poor Watson is up on the podium after they've gotten beat by Tennessee, and he really can't answer anything, even though he knows what the answers are. And Houlihan comes in that black suit, and I'll never forget John Bibb. I was 29 at the time, and John Bibb is in this wherever the press conference was in the football stadium. Bibb goes, "Well, if it isn't our esteemed athletic director, Mr. Houlihan, maybe he can answer our questions." And I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God." I'd never seen anything like that.
Mr. Houlihan, dressed as an undertaker, fittingly enough.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And that was the first time I ever saw one of those where, we were, they're trying to make us believe that, coach has been fired and we will begin a nationwide search that will end in less than 12 hours.
Yeah. Those nationwide searches, technology is such back then, obviously, George, it didn't take quite as long.
Aren't you glad you came on today?
Absolutely.
Leave me with something. What are the Preds going to do tonight?
I think that probably what the Predators do this weekend, and being the silly season opens Monday on the 1st of July with free agency, I can't wait to see what Barry Trotz is going to do throwing some money around on Monday. That's what I'm looking to.
Don't you think that the next 2 to 3 years of the future of this franchise may kind of be decided by July 4th?
Quite well could be, yeah. Absolutely. Minus any catastrophic injuries to the people they assemble here, yes.
Right. Okay. Pete, for being our guest.
Yes. I get a Texas A&M baseball ticket?
Join me in Hook 'em Horns. Hey, thanks for coming in here.
Glad to do it.
This was fun.
Glad to do it.
Pete Weber's been our guest. Guess what we're doing after the break?
What?
We're making people money. Plaster Bet of the Day, which has not been all that successful in recent times, is coming up next.
All right.
You're listening to 95.9 FM, and at least for now, it's the George Plaster Show. Here's Stan Harrison for Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, George. We at Apple Collision Centers understand the stress that auto body repair process can put in your day-to-day lives. We at Apple Collision Centers, we have 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. You can stop by and get an estimate, or you can get one online at www.applecollisioncenters.com.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
Hey, if you're looking for a place to catch all the hockey and hoops action this spring, look no further than the Alley Pub in Bellevue. And now here's Samantha to tell you about one of their great weekly specials.
Attention service industry. We want to say cheers to you at the Alley Pub, located at 7040 Highway 70 South in Bellevue. Every Wednesday night, bring a copy of your ABC card or pay stub to receive 20% off of your tab. Only at the Alley Pub, Bellevue's best sports bar and grill.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. While leaning over the fence, your neighbor said you could save money bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. Your neighbor leaned over a little too much and broke your fence. Dumb news. Somehow fence wood is more expensive than wood. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and to plant really tall shrubs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Bet of the day brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Call them at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. There were some bets made last night. Do we even want to show the record or
not
just
really?
Move on?
But go ahead. I mean, I think honesty dictates that we share that we're now 119 and 148. Disgraceful. Or as one person who may not be with us much longer said, if you win 2 out of 3 every night for the next 2 months, you might get even. Wow.
Ouch.
Talk about kicking people in the wherever.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's a new weekend, and you got some exciting stuff lined up.
We do. Here we go. Let's go with game number 1. Has anybody noticed Baltimore? This is one really solid baseball team, and all of a sudden now they may smell blood in the water. The Yankees without Juan Soto, without Giancarlo Stanton. There's a third, and suddenly I can't think of who it is. A third big injury, Anthony Rizzo. You take those 3 out of the lineup, they're not nearly as good, and Baltimore knows it, and this is their opportunity to take the lead in the American League East. Texas, yeah, they're the defending world champions. Have they played like it? Absolutely not. Baltimore at home, we're going with them. Okay, we're taking San Diego. Suddenly the Padres have a pulse. They'll score a bunch of runs in Boston. And finally, Milwaukee at home against the Cubbies. Cubbies had a long, late-night flight. Didn't get in until about 6 in the morning. All of you have a great weekend. I better go at least 2-1. We'll see you Monday.